on that, Russell, I mean, a lot of the time things that we said about South African teams, the URC, and now the Champions Cup, we haven't adapted to conditions there. Do you feel as if you guys could use the conditions to your advantage?
Absolutely, a lot's been said about altitude. Altitude does make a difference, obviously, for us. And then the next thing is obviously the heat. We're not very familiar playing this time of year. I mean, this whole week it's been 35, 36 degrees, so it's been nice and warm. It's crazy to even train midday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's crazy to train that time because it takes so much out of the body. But these sort of conditions will definitely help you if you're used to them and you're training in them. As the same goes when you're training in 5, 6, 7 degrees temperature and it's raining. If you can train in those conditions, it's going to help you. So absolutely, it makes a massive difference, and we'll try to use it to our advantage.
And I know that yours was a different competition, but you must have been quite happy with how you guys were able to adapt and also sort of dominate in your last game up front. Are you looking at again using that building on that for this game?
Yeah, so I think we were fortunate in that our game against the Dragons. I don't think the conditions were too bad. We were expecting a little bit more rain, but the surface was quite good. And then, obviously, the forwards performed pretty well. I think we let ourselves down in the 2 weeks prior to that, so we really needed to up our game. And so we played well. We played better than what we wanted. We played better than the weeks before, but we're still not quite where we want to be. So we're gonna. We're going to push in the next couple of weeks to see if we can keep improving.
And just when it comes to consistency, how difficult is it when you're almost chopping and changing your team every week, depending also on the competition and
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's your consistency will come in how often you play the same. Those combinations. Once they get going, you'll get a rhythm, and then I think you'll play a lot better, and you'll show a little bit more consistency. But the nature of these competitions we play in, you have to, everybody's trialing it. We're trying to see what's the best sort of way to go about it. How do you do subtle changes, or do you do a whole 15-man change? So we're learning as we go, and I think that consistency will come as soon as we start getting to the tail end of this competition, and we start to be a little bit more consistent in our selection.
Russell, do you feel that your loose trio is starting to click?
What? Sorry.
Your loose trio.
Oh yeah.
Of Carl Marco, because they also in those 2 games here in South Africa maybe didn't get the reward that they were hoping for as well. Yeah,
I think so. I think we've got outstanding loose forwards. Even the guys on the fringe, that are coming in, I think they're fantastic players. I think, losing Arnu, losing Marcel, in the second year, losing Dwayne, guys like that leave big holes, and you fill them up. But I think the guys that have stepped in those shoes have done an amazing job. They are finding each other, and they're still going to get better as a combination as 3. But yeah, I'm very happy with what we have, and our loose forwards are outstanding. I mean, we've got a mix from the guys that aren't playing in speed to power to so very happy with what we have at the moment.
Russell, is a challenge for the pack to play with the same intensity and physicality was shown in Newport on Friday evening?
Yeah, so that's sort of we want to gauge ourselves on probably performances that we were even better than that one. I think it's a given that if you don't match that, the physicality of the opposition and better, then you're going to struggle. So, yeah, if I'm honest with you, we have to improve. We still have to improve. I don't think that was the benchmark at all. I think we made a few mistakes there, and that's just me being super critical. I think they played really well, and they did well in those conditions. And we went through a couple of issues in the week, but they did really well. But I think we can still improve. I really do. I think we can get better and better. And like I say, this is a marathon. At the end of this tournament, the consistency which you mentioned is going to come in us finding those combinations and us getting into a groove where we've got the perfect hybrid of the way we want to play.
Russell, you work with him on a weekly basis as well, and there's been a lot of talk of how he still is adapting to his new role as a leader and that type of thing. But have you already seen an improvement in Ruan Orkia's communicatory skills, and his almost authority, as a captain? I know it's still a long way to go, but are you at least seeing tangible progress, after there was a bit of reservations about it, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that. I think he deserves a little bit more credit in his understanding of the game and his rugby IQ. He's one of the players who I've worked with that understands the game so much. And I really think that when he's on the field, I think he deserves a lot more. You know, he can get the ear of maybe the ref, and because he knows the game, he really understands it. And I don't think he tries to push issues that aren't issues in a game. I think. And I think the more he plays, and I think the more he's in that position, I think the more he'll get how can I say this, the experience calls. So, no, he's been unbelievable, and every week he is growing. He's still young, but as a player, I mean, he's a player that leads by example. I think every week on the stats, he's right up there, if not at the top. And the players have a hell of a lot of respect for him for what he does on the field. And the speaking is just secondary. I think once they start to understand how much he really knows about the game, I think refs and they'll get to know that he knows the game.
Russell, if I'm right, and I think you guys are still unbeaten against all overseas opposition, and I think you've only lost against the Sharks, I think.
Yeah.
And the Stormers, I think. But
No,
is that still obviously a source of pride for you guys against Exeter?
We haven't really so we've lost those two. We've lost against Exeter over there. So did we lose another one? I'm trying to think. No, we beat Cardiff, didn't we?
One of the
Of course.
Munster.
Oh, Munster. That's right. Listen. I think all four franchises don't want to lose at home. I think it's massive, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it. You have to win your home games. It's incredibly important that you win your home game. So that's something that we pride ourselves on, and I'm sure the other franchises as well. We don't want to lose at home, and it doesn't matter if it's a local or a foreign team. It's something that you've got to play for your fans, even though when you're not here and you're playing overseas, we know they're watching and we know they're right behind us. But when you're at home and the people are coming out to watch you, you really want to find an extra gear. You want to find that seventh gear where you can really perform.
Okay. And also just how difficult is it to hold back on wanting to change the front row or needing to change the front row that performed so well in the previous game? So where do you find the balance in not tinkering with something that's actually worked and probably was your biggest win previously?
It's a real struggle, because as soon as that, for me personally, I think the front rows they find each other. You will see when they're not playing. The more they play, the more better they get. A front row does not want to have a weekend off. He wants to play. And the more they play, the better they get. And the more they play as a unit, the better they get. So it's really tough when a front row, when a front row goes well, you find it really hard to want to swap them because games are won and lost in a scrum. And I think it's massive that we find that depth and that cohesion, but without tampering too much. So no, I think, and our front rows are also, we don't have these seasoned veterans in the front row. So the more they play, I think the more we'll be able then to start integrating the younger players and the guys that are coming through. I mean, Sebastian, who played last week, he's been outstanding, and he's still 21 years old. So he's done really amazing for us. And the more he plays, the better he's going to get at that level. So it's tough. It's tough making those changes and those calls because the other guys are just as good. But it's tough because they're not that battled. They don't have that battle hardness yet.
So speaking of front rows, you guys against Dragons did get reward for your obvious scrumming dominance. But on the same weekend, we saw teams like the Sharks and Stormers who were dominant at the scrum, but didn't necessarily get that reward. How difficult is that when you've got some referees who will clearly give penalties if you get on top on the scrums, and other referees who are just like, you won the scrum, you decimated them, but play on.
Yeah. So we do a lot of analysis on refs as well, and try to see what their trends and where they favour giving a penalty in the game. But it's frustrating when you're trying to do something in a game and you're not getting the reward for it. But I think we were just fortunate on the weekend that ref was really hard on the scrums. Any sort of infringement, we got the penalty, and that benefited us massively in the game. And I've seen games where you think you should be getting the reward and you don't. So I don't quite know how to answer it. It's just massively frustrating if you target a team in a certain area and you don't get the reward. But it's always nice there when you do, because then you know your game plan is gonna, it's gonna work out.
It's a bit like a referee deciding he's not going to blow the breakdown
Yeah.
for a game. I mean, the rules are the rules. How can you just...
Exactly. I'm not going to get into the rest because I could, but yeah, no, you're exactly right. Jeez, we could have a long discussion, but we'd have to turn everything
Like we
off.
want.
Yeah.
Okay, can we go to the guys online? Ashfaq,
This meeting is being recorded.
would you like to take the first question?
Yes, hi, good morning everyone. Hi Russell, hope you're well.
Yeah. Hello, Ashfaq.
Russell, just quickly on last week's game, Werner couldn't stop smiling afterwards when I spoke to him about the scrums. Your smile would also have been as broad, considering what happened against the Sharks and how you guys came back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly like I said, and I think we can still improve in all facets of our game, but that was one area that we knew we had to improve massively if we wanted to get any sort of result, because, the previous week we really, we were really under the pump, and to be fair, we got taught a lesson there. So, I think massive improvement from the boys, and I think, they stuck their hands up, especially the front row, and they worked really hard last week, and the benefits showed on the weekend. So we were really, really happy with that.
Well, was it an attitude change, Russell, or was it something technical that you guys fixed? Because it just seemed the guys played with such greater intensity.
I'll be honest with you, I think our players they've got fantastic attitudes. I mean, they're always willing to work, so definitely there was a technical issue that we needed to sort out. I think, talking about the Sharks, the previous week, they scrummed longer than what we thought, and I think, we took our foot off the pedal a little early. And this week we prepared different. I don't want to say a little bit of complacency creeped in for the Sharks game. That's not what I'm trying to say. I just know that technically we had to improve, and I think there's always buy-in from the players. I mean, the pack of forwards are always keen to work, and they work incredibly hard, and that's the culture we've tried to put down over here at the Bulls. So they worked hard, and we ironed out some of the the creases that we had. It worked out in our favour on the weekend. So yeah, it was more a technical thing, I think.
Russell, just on Exeter Chiefs, obviously it was the other squad that went to England, and this week is your full choice side. Janus Kirsten made an interesting observation this week, saying in terms of the kicking game, he expects that the Bulls won't kick out a lot and that there won't be many lineouts. Does he have some inside info still? Does he still have a mole that Loftus is giving him your game plan?
I can tell you, I don't know who has any inside info. We've tried to guess plans in the past, and they've it's turned out to be completely the opposite. So I can't. I don't know what they expect, but I can tell you this, that we've prepared really well this week. We've worked hard. The DNA of the way we play hasn't changed much, and we want to put a good performance on at home. So. I find it quite amusing to think that they think or they know that we're going to do something, but it might just bite people, So we're not too sure. We know they're a very good side. We know they're well coached. We know that in the game we played them in England, they really put in a good scrum performance, good mauling performance, as it was said earlier on. We know their pack of forwards is a really good pack of forwards and well coached. We know that they can really play and run the ball and play expansive rugby as well if they want to. So, we have to prepare for all these things. Come Saturday, we're gonna put our best foot forward, and hopefully we've prepared well enough to win the game.
Russell, without obviously giving your plan away, but as you said, they have a good pack. I know they don't have Luca and Dicky this week. He's injured, and Stuart Hogg is also out, but they can maul, they can scrum, and they can play the wide game. So how do you counter that? Do you then go into your shell and keep it tight to sort of rein them in? Or do you fight fire and take them on and see who's the winner at the end of the day?
Yeah, so me as a coach, always fire with fire. It's never any other way. We've got to front up on Saturday. So first of all, rugby is a collision sport. You don't win the collisions, you won't win the game. And then what's going to help us and what protects us is that we stick in system. We train things week in, week out, and if we keep to those, and we stick to the system is there to protect the player. And as long as we do that, we'll we should do well. It's teams that are good enough, and the teams that are that good that they can break down the patterns of play and the systems that the other team, bring to the table. Those are the teams that win the game. So we're going to just try hard to stay within what we've been coached and how we go about the way we play, and then hopefully to try and break them down in the way they want to play. And that's how you're going to get the result.
Obviously, it was a great confidence booster to beat the Dragons last week after a few defeats. But in terms of what you expect on Saturday, what would you say you need to improve still? Obviously, Goose won't have to deal with a weird wind that blows from behind the stand on Saturday, just in terms of the kicking game. But yeah, what do you want to see improvements from the Bulls side?
Yeah, so first of all, different competition. Obviously, at strength, it's the top clubs in the top clubs franchises in different countries. So the intensity is going to definitely be higher. It's definitely going to be higher. So we're going to have to match that, and we're going to have to improve. Our intensity is going to have to we're going to have to go up a notch if we want to make sure we get the win. So that's the first thing. This is the premium competition in the world, and so if we're really not up for it physically, mentally, and on our game, then and they might find some cracks. So that's the first thing. I think we're going to have to definitely up our intensity, and then again, I don't want to harp on too much about it, but just our systems, and we must make sure that we do what we train, and then I think we'll be okay.
Last one from me, Russell. Just in terms of the breakdown, how it's officiated, it seems like in URC there's a bit stricter calling from the refs, and in a Champions Cup, a bit more of a contest at the breakdown. Is that correct? And how do you adapt to the referees in the different competitions?
By learning really quick, and by making sure that we adapt really, really quick on the field, because I think our local referees and the overseas refs, they do have different interpretations, and just like us and this new competition, they have to get synergy amongst each other so there can be consistency in their calls. The breakdown, as you've seen, you'll play 1 week at home and you'll do one role for replacement, and you'll play overseas and you'll do one role for replacement, and they'll pin you. So we've got to make sure we adapt really quickly, so we'll pick up those trends nice and early in the game, and that's where Ruan is fantastic. He's someone who picks these things up really quickly and can relay the message to the team. So that's something us as coaching staff as well have to try and make sure that we just adapt really quickly on game day.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Have a lucky day. Enjoy your weekend.